Hello and welcome to EV Loop, powered by Carloop. I'm Adrian Maidment. I'm not your host. That's Riz Akhtar from Carloop. Hello, Riz.
Hey Adrian, good to be on first episode.
In this podcast, we've got a few things to cover, such as local Australian industry, international industry news, chart of the week we've got coming up. But first up, just maybe a little bit about what actually Carloop does.
Yeah, Adrian, so Carloop is an electric vehicle data company. We help Australia transition to an electrified future by having more electric cars on the road and making informed decisions as we head into this electrified future. We have an EV charging summit 2024 coming up here in Melbourne in 7th of August, where we try and bring multiple industry sectors all in one room, and we look at how we can implement as many fast chargers and charging infrastructure across Australia that's going to be much needed, as there is thousands of EVs that make it onto our roads every month.
And who are some of the speakers at the event?
So we've got representatives from the state government. We've also got those that operate charging infrastructure, including public chargers. We've got experts from the energy sector looking at grid and some of the challenges that it will have as more chargers are rolled out. And we'll also have charging hardware suppliers. What I'm most excited about is our keynote, which will be coming in from an international fast charging company that has had huge success in other markets in running fast charging infrastructure and doing it while making it easier for EV owners to be able to charge at their sites. So lots of lessons to share, and feel free to join us if you're here in Melbourne on the 7th of August.
And I guess people can find out more by going to the Carloop websites.
Yeah, that's right. So Carloop website does have content on that particular event. You can also see what we've run in the past. And we also look forward to sharing some of the highlights here on this podcast, but also on our social channels.
Yep. And just keeping on the sort of the event topic, I know you're quite busy going to other events. What have been some recent highlights that you've been to, some other events?
Yeah, so one of the recent ones we had back in May was the Solar and Storage Expo up in Brisbane. I was chairing one of the theatres there for EV charging, got to learn a lot from many different experts who look after all aspects, whether it's property groups, whether it's car rental fleets, those running public charging infrastructure, as well as public transport. So we got everyone in the same room talking about some of those challenges and opportunities. And then another one we had was around fleets and charging infrastructure, which was run last month in Sydney. And then we have another one, which is our own EV charging summit being held in August.
And now moving on to some sort of international news. The story that sort of caught my eye this week was the CATL, the Chinese battery maker, biggest battery company in the world, with clients such as, say, Tesla, BYD, Toyota, and they were talking about, they had a promo video came out on YouTube about how long their batteries will last.
Yeah, that's CATL, supplier of those batteries, as you said, the biggest in the world. Majority of the Teslas that are on Australian and New Zealand roads have their CATL lithium iron phosphate battery pack in them, and they're supplied to a whole lot of other manufacturers. As part of that, it's good to see that their internal research shows that the newer battery technologies that we're seeing are going to last 16 years. That is significantly higher than what an life of a car is in Australia, which hovers between 9 and 10 years. So gives confidence to a lot of people who are looking at getting their first EV, knowing that their batteries will last pretty much the entire life of the car. But at the same time, on the used electric vehicle market, where there's a lot of concern, how long will the batteries last? Will I need to replace them? Going by that research, it will be a long, long time before anyone needs to replace batteries in their electric vehicles, even on the used market.
Okay, let's move on to you're obviously into data, so you probably like your charts. I've got one of your charts here to talk about. We're calling it Chart of the Week. Because it's a chart, and we'll probably do this once a week. So it's Chart of the Week, and this one is Australia now has more than 1,000 fast charging sites for electric cars.
Yes, electric vehicle fast charging infrastructure has grown quite rapidly in the last couple of years, and this year is no different. We've got, in the first half of the year, we've seen a significant amount of new sites opened. So these are fast chargers that are over the speed of 25 kilowatts DC, which means that most cars will be able to charge at, those DC fast chargers above 25 kilowatts. And with that in mind, we have 1,011 sites as of the end of June. That's up significantly since the same time last year, where there were just under 600 sites. This will give quite a bit of a boost to those looking at purchasing an electric vehicle, and will make it easier for people to be able to road trip, particularly in the summer months. If you break those 1,011 sites down, there's nearly 3,000 plugs. So 2/3 of them are the CCS2 plug, which is the dominant plug in most new electric cars sold here, and just under 1,000 are CHAdeMO plugs, which are used by Nissan Leafs, Mitsubishi Outlanders, and a few other electric vehicles. But over a period of time, that's declined, and pretty much every new electric vehicle sold in Australia and New Zealand cover a CCS2 plug. So 2/3 are there, and that trend is only likely to increase over the coming months and years.
Is that the plug that Tesla has? Does it have the same plug?
Yeah, they have the same plug itself. So Teslas, BYDs, MGs all use the CCS2 plug. So fast charging infrastructure that's being rolled out now is sort of focusing on that, because that's where the fast charging networks are going to get utilization. So yeah, it's good to see.
So yeah, there's a lot of those people. You see those stories, people going around right around Australia now, and there's more of those stories going around in their EVs and their Teslas.
We're going to see more and more. There won't be stories anymore. It's just what people do.
Yeah,
so
that's what people do. Okay, let's move on to EV of the week. So in your position at Carloop, you do get a lot of opportunities to drive EVs. What have you been driving recently?
Recently, I had the chance to drive the new BYD Seal, particularly the performance variant. Very exciting car, very comfortable, a lot of space at the front and in the back seats, more than the Tesla Model 3 when it comes to the back seat space, because it's a longer car. Having said that, the Tesla Model 3 has a larger frunk, which is quite good, and obviously has access to pretty much every fast charging sites in the country. A BYD Seal, though, I did test it at the Tesla Superchargers, and it did work and charged pretty quickly. So yeah, good, comfortable car. If there's something that could be improved, it would be faster AC charging. Currently, it's only come into our market with 7 kilowatt AC, and 11 kilowatt AC charging should be the sort of the minimum standard these days. So you can charge where you have 3-phase power available, whether it's at work or at home. Apart from that, it is a fun car to drive.
Yeah, so just on that sort of slow charging, that sort of overnight, you're not going to get a big charge, are you?
Well, I think overnight you might be able to, particularly if it's a 7 kilowatt charger you have at home in single phase. You're likely to be able to get majority of the battery topped up. But let's say if you're on the go and the only charger you have available is AC, then 11 kilowatts is roughly 40% faster than what's currently on offer. So that would be one of the main improvements. And then, there's very small software changes that would help improve the car, which, the BYD team is working on.
Okay, let's move on to the big picture of things. Any insights you want to share? Share us? Anything? Big picture?
Adrian, as we're sort of shifting towards electrification, there's a big push for new brands entering the Australian market. A fair few of them are coming in from China. So it's quite interesting to see how fleets would take that. Because traditionally, most fleet operators, which make up a large chunk of vehicles bought and sold in Australia, rely on some of the traditional automakers, so Kia, Hyundai and others. But with the rise of new brands, particularly those from China entering our market, it would be quite unique to see how that adoption in that sector goes for these newer brands. Obviously, some of the considerations they're looking at is part supply, as well as servicing, which these new brands will have to establish, and also having those partnerships in terms of fleet managers who can rely on these manufacturers to be able to service their vehicles as well. So with that in mind, it's going to be an interesting 12 to 18 months as these new brands land, and we will monitor what the adoption is amongst fleet.
And just to finish off, what's coming up this week for you, or in the next couple of weeks?
So in the coming weeks, obviously, we've got our EV Charging Summit happening in Melbourne. We'll be working towards making sure that's a success. On top of that, there is the Melbourne Electric SUV Show coming up, which we will be attending. So if you're around, come and say hi. There'll be other organizations like Australian Electric Vehicle Association, as well as a fair few car brands and others offering test drives. So yeah, pop on in if you're in Melbourne. And it goes 9th of August to the 11th, so over a weekend as well.
Okay, Riz, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Adrian. See you all next time.